Welcome to our Week 3 Football Officials Educational Video Series for the 2025 football season. I want to thank everyone who has shared and liked the video and provided the positive feedback. Greatly appreciated. This week we got several great plays. Again, we're going to start out this week with blocking below the waist. Now, in Week 2's video last week, I talked extensively about it. And if you want to refer to the criteria, go to about the 11-minute and 4-second mark of Week 2's video, and you can view that. But let's jump right into our first play with this week involving a block below the waist. Inside the green shaded box I have for the players that if they meet all the other criteria, because they're on the line of scrimmage here, can potentially block below the waist on the offense and also on the defense here. But we're talking offense, who could potentially block below the waist if they meet all the other criteria that we talked about. So let's take this a step further. All the players that are highlighted in red are not eligible on the offense to block below the waist due to the fact they cannot meet the first criteria of being on the line of scrimmage and in the zone at the snap. So the players in red are not eligible to block below the waist on this play. On this play, our focus will be on the running back to the left of the quarterback that I have highlighted in the red shaded area. That will be the player that our focus will be on. So we've already established this player is not eligible to block below the waist. And also I want to point out with this formation, this running back would be one of the keys for our head linesman on the far side of the field. Now, the block below the waist, obviously, if any official gets a flag on it, we should be satisfied with that. But in this particular case, this running back is the head linesman's key or one of the keys on this play. Okay, as we take a look at this play, one of the other things we have to figure out is we see this running back. We could look at this as either a block below the waist, as you'll see, or a chop block, because we have one offensive player blocking high, one blocking low. Now, the other part of this is what official or officials are going to be able to see this. I think most likely, as we see our referee here, has a pretty good position on the play. I know the referee's looking over towards the far side tackle there, but the running back does stay in the middle of the field here, somewhat in his view area. And we also know we can see the quarterback is not threatened. So, not really much threat there to worry about that. The other part here I maybe recommend is that the umpire step towards the line of scrimmage on this play. Not saying that's going to allow the umpire to better see this, but stepping towards the line of scrimmage is always a good mechanic. Our two wing officials, they have to kind of adjust between their keys and the receivers downfield. And in this case, we have a running back in the backfield. So if your key downfield is not being pressured or contacted or engaged, then maybe we could, check back into the backfield and pick this up. But we do need to get this block below the waist on this play. In our next play, we're going to take a look at a kickoff here, and we can see all the players on the kicking team are bunched up. Now we get a marker down. We shut the play down by our back judge, and that's a good job here because if we look at Rule 6.1, Article 4, at the time the ball is kicked, at least 4K players must be on each side of the kicker. And as we look at this play, we can clearly see right here, I have a line drawn approximately. We can't clearly establish that there's 4 players on each side of the ball at the time the ball's kicked. Clearly, most of the players are on the back judge's side of the field and not on our near sideline judge side. So good job here getting the marker down, recognizing this, and shutting this play down because it is a dead ball foul. Good job on this play. Third play, we're going to talk about formation. Rule 7 states that A can only have maximum of 4 backs inside the circle. I've identified 3, quarterback and 2 running backs. So we need to recognize this when we have an obvious illegal formation or 5 backs. As we take a look at this play further, we can see that we have a running back here. So that's 4 And then we're going to transition to the head linesman side of the field, and that's our fifth, and it's clear and evident. We use radios here in our association, but we got to communicate this. We have to get this when it's obvious like this. If we get multiple flags down, that's better, but at a minimum, we need to get at least one penalty marker on the ground. Ideally, we would like the two wing officials to have a marker down. This play here, we have 4th and 10. The offense ends up getting a first down on this play. So we've got to recognize this when it's obvious, and we've got to get our marks down. We've got to penalize this. Play number 4, we got a scrimmage kick punt situation. Ball's at the 45. We just talked about maximum of 4 in the backfield. Remember, that formation, we've got to have those players on the line of scrimmage breaking that imaginary line with their head or their foot of the snapper to be on the line of scrimmage here. Looks a little suspect by the depth here, but we don't have the best camera angle. So, but just be aware of that. Make them be legal on these formations. We need to have them legal. The other part here, watch these two players right here next to the snapper. They turn. Now, this is close. I think they get turned and there's a little bit of movement, but let's make sure on these formations, especially on these punt formations, that they're doing everything by the rules and that we're observing it. Now, let's go downfield and let's take a closer look at the signal given by this R player, because that's really what this play I want to focus on is the signal given by the R player here. So when we look in our rule book as we take a closer look at this, Rule 2 definitions, a valid fair catch signal is the extending and lateral waving of one arm at full arm's length above the head by any R player. Okay? Now, does he get the arm fully extended or not? You can use your judgment on that. But we need to be aware of this. Back judges, this is yours. Now, we need to get this and shut this play down because, remember, if this player gives a signal, Rule 6 states that no receiver may advance the ball after a valid or invalid fair catch signal has been given by any R player. So, if we have a signal, whether it's valid or invalid here, we cannot have an advancement of the ball by any R player. If they do, then we need to put our penalty marker down, and we're going to have a 5-yard penalty enforcement for delay of game at the spot of this foul. So when we see this signal and he gains possession, we're sure he has possession, we need to kill this play either way. If after that the R player advances, then we would have a foul for delay of game. Are you ready for this? Play 5 this week, we're going to see our quarterback scramble to our line judge side of the field. Great job by both our line judge and referee on this play. A referee sees the scrambling quarterback and look at his hustle. I get not all of us are going to be able to do that, but let's try to keep up with the quarterback because that's our player. Right here we see our line judge turned out, stopping the clock, watching the action in the out-of-bounds area with our referee right behind him. Great job of covering this play. Great job of these two officials, and we can see our back judge in the distance closing down to that sideline to help our officials on that sideline to make sure that nothing happens in that dead ball period. Because remember, the dead ball period is a period where we need to, officiate too, and we do a great job here. Good job on this play. Play 6 this week. We're going to talk extensively about dead ball officiating. And we're going to have a play here, snap to the quarterback. He goes to the right. It appears the running back goes the incorrect direction. We have a pitch back, which is a fumble, loose ball. Sometimes I think we get ahead of ourselves and we have to take things in order and slow things down. First of all, we look across the field, and that's our head linesman on the other side of the play. And it's important the head linesman keep his eyes focused from that side because he's the only official over there. We have a situation where we have a lot of players between the 35 and 40-yard line. So as we look right here, let's come back down to in front of us, our line judge. Our line judge doing a good job looking out at that area where all the players are at inside the circle. I know our referee is right there, but the referee can use some help just in case something happens. We come back up to around the 45. We can see our umpire on the left-hand side here. Looks like he's getting ready to move to the next spot, and that's correct. I understand that, but his head goes down immediately when he goes to move up to that location. Try this little tip. Try to get your head up when you're moving to the location. Try to keep your eyes on all those players because things can happen. Now, nothing does, but things can happen, and so we want to keep our eyes and help our crew. Far side of the field, we see our head linesman is turned out away from the play. Looks like he's trying to get the ball, and I get we have to transition the ball onto the field, but if we watch this play and we take an extra 2-3 seconds on a play, we go 1001, 1002, we will see that if we stay on the play and officiate the dead ball period, we will see them separate. Once we see them separate, then we can turn and do those other duties and get the ball and so forth. And being a great dead ball official will help to monitor the game, obviously, but it'll also make you a much better official. So slow down, process the period, and remember, even though we have a whistle or the player's down, let's continue, all officials, to monitor the play an extra 2-3 seconds. Once we recognize players are separating, then we can turn our attention to those other duties and we will better monitor the game in these plays and do a much better job and become a much better official by being a great dead ball official. Play number 7 this week, we're going to look at mechanics and our hustle on the field of play. As we have a play here, we're going to have a running play by the offense up the middle of the field as we see here. And as we look right here, I've highlighted our line judge at the bottom of the screen, right around the 41, 42-yard line. Coming up field, doing a great job hustling. And we can see our head linesman on the far side, a little bit behind. And that's fine. We don't all have the same athletic ability and maybe not be able to keep pace with our high school athletes. We understand that, and that's not a problem. But we do want to emulate similar mechanics as we see here as we get closer to the end of the play. The gap is growing, okay? And as we get towards the end of this play, which is going to be down around the 41-yard line, we will see our line judge come down, square the play off at the bottom of the screen in the bottom left-hand corner, and come in and stop the clock and does a great job. Our head linesman is still back near the chains area. And so we want both officials to come up to the forward progress spot, the head linesman, line judge, get that spot, square it off, stop the clock, and then proceed with the chain, moving the chains down. Great job here by our line judge, great hustle, great mechanics. Let's all emulate those types of mechanics on the field. So after we've completed the play and we put our marker down, our officials who have penalty marker, need to come in and communicate to the referee. It's going to provide them information such as what the foul is his flag in a good spot, number of the player, the enforcement, if you know it. Ideally, we'd like the reporting official to know it. Provide detailed information, holding, during the run, number 75 on the offense, our, blue team, enforcement spot, foul occurred beyond the line of scrimmage or previous spot. Provide that information to the referee in detail. And if at any point in time, any official doesn't think any of that information sounds correct or whatever. And that's a point in time to discuss it and, correct anything at that point in time or discuss it, make sure we're getting enforcement procedures right. So, move your flag to the correct spot, report detailed information to the official. Make sure he understands who the foul's on, what the foul is, status of the ball, where the enforcement is, and so forth, so that we can start the process to get our enforcements of the penalty correct on the field. Play 8 this week, we're going to talk about penalty enforcement procedures, proper procedures, how we need to make sure that we get proper penalty enforcement because our goal, like I said, should be 100%. Now, we look at this play right here. We see the line judge and the ball on the 46-yard line. That's where we're going to snap it, 46. We go across the field and we can see our head linesman in the down marker, 47. Okay, so clearly we're a yard off. The best two officials to see this are the head linesman and the line judge. They need to shut this play down now, prevent the snap. We need to come together and figure out where our spot of the snap should be. Get it corrected before we snap the ball. So don't let this play occur. Shut the play down. Come together and discuss what error was made, and let's get it corrected before we have the snap. Because we can see we're off by a yard. It may only seem a yard, but we want credibility. We want it to be accurate. We don't want it to look off like this. Again, the umpire and referee and back judge may not see this. Okay, so we're going to have a penalty right here on 54 in the defense. It looks to me like a 5-yard face mask is called on the field. We're going to have flags by both our head linesman and umpire on this play. And notice foul occurs behind the line of scrimmage and the run ends behind the line of scrimmage. So we need to know that because if we go to Rule 10, page 83 in the rule book, there is a chart. Okay. And we can see here the officials spotting this ball at the 48 behind the previous spot. And if we go to that chart, we go down, it says foul by B behind the line. The run ends behind the line. The play ends behind. We're going to go to the previous spot according to 10-4-2D, previous spot, which was the 46-yard line because the foul occurred behind the line. The play ended behind the line of scrimmage. We're going to go previous spot because of this rule in this chart. It helps us to know where the enforcement spot is on these plays, as this was a rule change a few years ago for the enforcement spot. So, we look here, the ball with a 5-yard face mask penalty, which appears if nothing else happened, and we don't know that, but we're just assuming what we see in these videos, is the ball is now at the 44. So did we walk off 5 yards from the end of the run? Or did we walk it off from the previous spot like we should have, which would put us at the 41 from the 46 to the 41. Now, there may have been something else that occurred that we don't see between plays here, but let's remember, on this play, the run ended behind the line of scrimmage, the foul was behind the line of scrimmage. On B, we're going to go to the previous spot and walk off 5 yards, but we need to have the accuracy of the down marker on this play. Now, let's talk about a great way to enforce penalties. And we're going to use this play here because we're snapping the ball from the 20-yard line, so it's clear. We're going to have flags by 4 officials, umpire, head linesman, line judge, referee for a false start on the offense. We shut the play down. And so how do we get from our enforcement spot back to where the next going to snap the ball, the succeeding spot? Let's break that down right now. See, so we know how to do it and an effective way to do it. I'm going to explain an enforcement mechanic that is used. You'll see it used commonly in college officials, but it's effective and it works. And so let's talk about that mechanic here. So after the penalty and after we've given the information to the referee, and remember the referee's busy giving signals and so forth. So we really want to get this done by the other officials on the crew while the referee's busy doing that. So I've highlighted in blue our line judge on the near side, our umpire in the middle, and the far side, the head linesman. So how this mechanic works, and you may have other mechanics, but this mechanic I've seen done, and it works effectively to get our enforcements correct. So first of all three of these officials, our two wing and our umpire, will start from the enforcement spot, the same line of scrimmage. If one of them is not on the same yard line, then one of them will speak up and say, something's not correct. We need to get it corrected, and that's the time to speak. Once we ensure all officials are on the same enforcement yard line, then the umpire will communicate verbally, but also by use of hands. And you may have seen it, putting up 1, 2, or 3 fingers for 5-yard, 1 finger, 2 fingers for 10 yards, and 3 fingers for 15-yard penalty. And if it's a half a distance, they'll use a signal of half the distance on their forearm. So prior to any movement, we signal that. And then our umpire and our head linesman, who's on the chain side, will walk off the enforcement to the correct spot. In this case, it'd be the 15. The line judge will stay on the 20-yard line and not move until the line judge sees that the umpire and head linesman are at the correct spot. And then if the line judge recognizes something is wrong, or the head linesman or umpire gets in the wrong spot, we need to stop everything, communicate that, and maybe, go back to the beginning and start over. But ideally, we want to get to the right spot. And when everybody's sure we're in the right spot, then that's when we can put the ball down and proceed to, continue on with the game. So we'll watch it right here in this video as we can see our officials all in the correct spot. And then we'll see our head linesman and umpire walking off this 5-yard penalty. See how the line judge stayed and now comes up and to the correct spot. As always, thank you very much for taking the time for watching this week 3 video for high school football officials so that we can improve on our rules knowledge and mechanics and get better each week. Again, please feel free to hit the share, like button, comment, and so forth. Until next time, have a great game and have a great week. We'll see you next time on week 4's video.